The screams from the lake still haunt me. I don't talk about that trip anymore. Not with friends, not with family, not with the girl I went with. Hell, we don't even speak at all now. She blocked me after we got back. Guess she thought I was cursed or something. Maybe I am. But every time I close my eyes, I hear it. That sound. The screaming. And not the kind you can brush off as some wild animal. This was human. Raw, wet, guttural. A scream that didn't stop. That couldn't stop. It started off normal enough. You always think you're safe when you're with someone. Like bad shit only happens to solo hikers. But that's a lie. You're never really safe. Not when you're out there. We were in the North Cascades, Washington side. Thought it'd be romantic. Roughing it, just me and Emily. No service, no emails, no bullshit. Just two REI nerds with an overpriced tent and a Yeti cooler full of IPA. It was early September, when the leaves hadn't quite turned, but the air smelled different. Crisp, a little metallic. The trailhead was empty when we parked. Not like peak season, which in hindsight was the first red flag. Gorgeous weekend, barely a cloud, and no one else was around. But of course, we joked about it. Private mountain getaway, she said, grinning. I laughed it off. We had no clue. We hiked in about 6 miles before setting up camp by a lake. Not one of those big-ass tourist lakes. This was more like a hidden tarn, glassy and black. The kind that doesn't ripple, even when the wind picks up. I should have paid more attention to how dead it looked. No fish jumping, no frogs, nothing. We pitched the tent a little off-trail near the tree line. Stupid, I know. Classic horror movie setup. But we wanted privacy. Instagram had me thinking I was some kind of wilderness expert. Emily was obsessed with getting the perfect no-filter shot for her feed. But then we found the first sign. It was subtle. Easy to miss if you weren't looking. A pile of rocks, not cairns, not trail markers. Just a mound. Maybe 2 feet high, like a little grave. And jammed right into the top was a stick, sharpened down to a crude point. Someone had wrapped a strip of fabric around it. Faded red. Could have been a bandana. Could have been something else. Creepy, but whatever, Emily shrugged. We were both idiots. The first night we barely noticed anything off. Just your usual campfire chatter, a couple of beers, stargazing, flirting. But around 2 a.m, I woke up to a sound that didn't fit. It was quiet. Too quiet. You know how even in the middle of nowhere you'll hear stuff? Wind, rustling, distant owls. Nature has a pulse. But that night it was like the woods were holding their breath. Then came the snap. A twig, breaking, deliberate. Not some deer blundering through the brush. This was slow, precise, like someone was trying to move quietly but didn't quite pull it off. I held my breath. My mind raced. Bear, maybe a cougar. But no, too careful. Predators don't care if you hear them. When they're this close. Emily stirred. "What the fuck was that?" she whispered. I motioned for her to stay still, reached for my headlamp. The beam cut through the tent, casting long shadows, but it wasn't strong enough to see much outside. Another snap. Closer this time. Maybe 20 feet from us. Probably some hiker got turned around, I muttered. More to convince myself. But who hikes around at 2 in the goddamn morning, off trail without a light? Emily grabbed my arm, hard. I could feel her nails digging into my skin, and then whistling, faint, off-key, some old tuneless melody, like someone was just entertaining themselves. No rhythm, no pattern, just an endless meandering whistle. It circled us. I swear to God, it circled the tent. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. When dawn finally broke, everything felt normal again. Birds were chirping, the lake looked peaceful. For a brief, stupid moment, we convinced ourselves it had been an animal. Maybe some crazy bird. People tell themselves all kinds of lies to avoid panic. We packed up quick, but Emily didn't want to bail entirely. Said we'd hiked all this way, might as well stay one more night. Stubborn as hell, that girl. That's when we noticed our bear canister was open. Let me be clear. This thing was latched. You don't just casually pop open a bear canister without opposable thumbs and some serious leverage. And no, it wasn't torn up like a bear had gotten into it. It was opened carefully, deliberately. Half our food was gone. The rest was sitting there, untouched. Like whoever did it only took what they needed, or what they wanted us to lose. We should go, I said, heart pounding. But Emily just frowned. Maybe a ranger, maybe they thought we were littering or some shit. We both knew that wasn't true, but saying it out loud made it feel safer. We made the dumbest choice possible. We stayed. That night was worse. Far worse. I'm not even sure if I want to keep going. But if you're reading this, if you're actually listening, maybe you deserve to know how bad it got. We should have left. Everything in my gut was screaming at me to get the hell out of there. But Emily, she wasn't scared yet. Not really. She still had this shield up, like nothing bad could actually happen to us. Like this was all just an experience we'd laugh about later. She even said it. It's probably just some backwoods weirdo. They don't care about us. They'd have done something already if they wanted to. But that was exactly the problem. They were doing something. They were waiting. We spent the afternoon pretending things were normal, made a tiny fire, took some photos by the lake, ate what was left of our snacks. But the energy was wrong. Emily was jumpy, kept glancing toward the trees. I could see it in her face. That creeping doubt. At one point, I caught her staring at a spot across the lake, just standing there, squinting. "What is it?" I asked. She shook her head, too fast. "Nothing. Thought I saw someone, but no, it's just a tree." But I looked too, and I swear, for half a second, it wasn't a tree. There was something thicker, a silhouette, a shape that didn't belong. But when I blinked, it was gone. We packed up the fire early. Neither of us said it, but we both knew sleeping tonight wasn't an option. Not really. The sun dipped behind the peaks, and with it came the cold. Not just the normal mountain chill. This was bone deep. The kind of cold that felt personal, like it was meant for us. We sat in the tent, headlamps off, just listening. Nothing. No insects, no night birds, just silence. Like the woods themselves had retreated, holding their breath again. Around midnight, we heard the first rock hit the tent. It was small. A tap, like someone flicked a pebble at the nylon. Emily's hand shot to my arm. "That wasn't wind," she whispered. No shit, it wasn't wind. Another pebble, then another, faster this time, like they were playing some sick little game. Not big rocks, nothing that could hurt, just enough to say, "We're here." I unzipped the tent slow, barely breathing, and peeked out with my flashlight. The beam hit nothing but trees and shadows, but I could feel them, watching, waiting. The worst part? No footsteps. Whoever it was, they were moving in the dark like they'd done it 1,000 times. No crunching twigs, no rustling underbrush, just the occasional tap on the tent, and that suffocating silence after. Emily was shaking now. She wasn't saying brave shit anymore. "I don't like this. Let's just leave. Right now." She was whispering, but it felt like shouting in that dead quiet dark. We scrambled to shove our gear into packs, but we hadn't even zipped up when we heard the whistling again. Closer this time, but not circling anymore, just standing. It came from the tree line, maybe 30 feet out. The same off-key, meandering whistle, no real melody. Like someone was trying to remember a tune they'd forgotten years ago. My mouth went dry. I couldn't see them, but I knew they were there. Emily was breathing hard, panic bubbling up. "Please, let's go." But then something else happened. A second whistle joined in, fainter but matching the first. 2 people now, whistling to each other across the woods, answering back and forth, like a fucking duet from hell. Emily froze. "There's 2 of them." I didn't answer. I couldn't, because it wasn't just 2. A third whistle came from behind us, then a fourth. My brain couldn't process it. We had hiked miles into that wilderness. There shouldn't have been anyone else out there. No cars at the trailhead, no campsites, nothing. But there they were all around us, whistling. That's when the footsteps started, not trying to be quiet anymore. Crunching, slow, deliberate, coming straight toward us. "Go," I hissed. We grabbed what we could and ran, left the tent, left half our gear, didn't care. We sprinted toward the trail, headlamps bouncing wildly. Branches slapped at our faces, thorns tore at our legs. But we didn't stop. Couldn't stop. And behind us, still, that fucking whistling. Never hurried, never frantic, just steady, patient, like they knew we couldn't outrun them. We reached the trail, but it didn't help. The path twisted, the trees closed in, every snap of a twig behind us made my heart stutter. Emily stumbled, I yanked her up, we kept going, but then we hit it, the string. A thin, almost invisible nylon cord strung across the trail at knee height. Emily tripped over it, hit the ground hard. I stopped, looked closer. Tied to the string, hanging like little ornaments, were bones. Tiny ones. Bird bones, maybe. Or something else. Clean. Picked white. Whoever these people were, they'd prepared for us. This wasn't random. This was a goddamn trap. I yanked Emily up again. She was crying now, limping. I can't. You have to. We moved slower now. The woods felt tighter. The air itself was suffocating. But then the whistling stopped. All at once. Dead silence. I didn't know what was worse. The sound or the lack of it. That's when we saw the first light. Not a flashlight. Not a headlamp. A lantern. Old-fashioned glass and metal swinging gently from someone's hand. It bobbed in the dark about 50 yards ahead, blocking the trail. And as it moved, the light caught on something else. A face, grinning. But it wasn't the grin that gutted me. It was the eyes, wide open, unblinking, like they'd been waiting for us all night. And from the shadows, I heard it. A voice, male, raspy. "Long way from home, ain't ya?" Emily sobbed. And I realized we weren't getting out of this. Not tonight. I wish I could tell you I was brave, that I stood my ground, grabbed a rock or a stick and told that bastard to fuck off. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because when I saw his face in the lantern light, that stretched, waxy grin, like his skin didn't fit right, my body just locked up. Not fear. Something worse. Like my brain was trying to play dead. Emily was shaking beside me, gripping my sleeve so hard she was nearly hanging from my arm. She wasn't crying loud anymore. Just these little hiccuping gasps, like she was trying not to throw up. The man took a step forward. That lantern swayed gently, casting his face in and out of shadow. He was filthy. Layers of grime so thick it was like his skin had grown moss. His clothes didn't match. A flannel shirt, torn army pants, bare feet. His toes were blackened, cracked. But it was the way he moved that really fried my nerves. Not fast, not aggressive, just slow, certain. He knew this was his house. We would just meet walking through it. "Don't gotta run," he said, voice gravelly, almost amused. "Ain't polite. Folks come all this way, you ought to sit a spell." Another figure stepped out from the trees to the left. Smaller, maybe 5'2", hood pulled low, face hidden. Same kind of patchwork clothes. They didn't say anything, just stood there, still as a post. My head was screaming, "Move, now." But the trail behind us wasn't safe either. We'd been flanked for miles. We'd heard them. That's when Emily did something I'll never forget. She pulled out her little hiking knife, this dinky 3-inch Gerber blade she'd bought at Walmart, and pointed it at the man. "Get the fuck away from us," she said. Her voice was shaking, but loud. "We'll leave. Right now. But if you come any closer, I swear to God," he laughed. Not a belly laugh, not even mocking. It was soft, almost like a chuckle at a private joke. And then, from the trees, more figures appeared. 3, 4, 5 of them. All different sizes, all with the same stitched-together clothes, caked with filth, eyes too wide. They didn't speak. They didn't move. They just watched. "We've been watching you since that lake," Lantern Man said. "Nice little camp you picked. Real nice. Folks don't come out here much these days." Emily tightened her grip on my arm. "What do you want?" He tilted his head like she'd asked the dumbest question in the world. "Ain't about what I want, darling. It's what you want. You want to leave. But you don't even know where you are no more." He was right. In the panic, the sprint, the blind terror, I had no clue where the fuck we were. The trail had twisted so many times it could have been anywhere. I pulled out my phone, stupidly. No signal, of course. The man took another step, the others followed. Perfect sync, like puppets on the same string. "That's close enough," I said, finally finding my voice. He stopped, but not because of me. The whistling started again, low, slow. But this time it wasn't from the trees. It was from behind us. I spun around and my stomach dropped. A woman was standing in the middle of the trail. Her hair was matted, hanging like seaweed. She wore what might have once been a white dress, now shredded and brown with old stains. Her feet were bare, her arms hung limp at her sides. But her mouth, it wasn't whistling. It was wide open. The sound was coming from somewhere else. A small speaker, hung around her neck, duct-taped crudely to her chest. The whistling was a recording, on loop. She just stood there, mouth agape, breath rasping in and out like she'd forgotten how to close it. Lantern Man spoke up again. "You met Mama, she don't talk much no more, but she likes company." That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't random. They wanted us out here, lured us, herded us. The rock pile, the whistling, the missing food, the nylon cord across the trail. It wasn't scare tactics, it was a process, a slow, grinding machine pulling us further and further from safety until we were right where they wanted us. I grabbed Emily's hand, whispered, "When I say run, you run, don't look back." But she was already moving before I finished. We bolted into the woods. Off trail, stupid, dangerous. But I figured it was better than going through that crowd. Branches clawed at us. The ground sloped steeply, loose dirt giving way under our boots. But the woods were alive now. Everywhere we turned, there were flashes of movement. A figure ducking behind a tree. A glimpse of dirty fabric. The soft creak of a boot. And always, always, that fucking whistling on repeat. Emily tripped again. This time she didn't get up right away. Her ankle, twisted bad, maybe broken. "Get up," I hissed, crouching beside her. I can't, fuck, it hurts." She was sobbing now, full on, no holding back. But I couldn't carry her, not through this terrain, not with them closing in. That's when I saw it. A small outcrop of boulders, maybe 30 yards ahead. A narrow gap between them, like a tiny cave entrance. "Come on," I said. "We can hide there." I slung her arm over my shoulder, half dragging her, adrenaline making me stronger than I had any right to be. Behind us, the footsteps picked up pace. They weren't playing anymore. We reached the rocks just as a voice shouted through the trees. "Don't fight it, kids. Ain't no shame in coming home." The gap was tight. I shoved Emily through first, crawling after her, scraping my hands raw on the jagged stone. Inside it was dark, cold, but it felt safe. For now, we huddled there, listening as the woods outside filled with movement. Footsteps, laughter, the soft mechanical whistle playing over and over and over. And then, silence. No footsteps, no voices. They knew where we were, but they didn't rush us. They waited, like they were giving us time. And that was somehow worse, because you only give time to things you know can't escape. We stayed in that crack between the rocks for, I don't know how long. Could have been 10 minutes. Could have been an hour. Time doesn't move right when you're waiting to die. Emily was pressed up against me, breathing shallow, her face streaked with dirt and snot. Her leg was definitely messed up. Swollen, maybe fractured. She couldn't walk on it, which meant we weren't getting far when we eventually had to run again, because we would have to run again. There was no cavalry coming, no chance of outlasting them. I tried to stay quiet, tried not to breathe too loud. Outside, the woods had gone still. That awful whistle loop had finally stopped. The only sound now was the breeze sliding through the trees, and even that felt wrong. like it was pretending to be normal. Then, without warning, something slapped against the rocks above us. A heavy, wet thump. Emily jumped. I nearly bit through my tongue to stop from shouting. Another thump, closer to the gap. I peered through the narrow opening slow as I could. Something dangled there. A shape, swinging gently. At first I thought it was a bag, but as it spun, the beam of my headlamp caught it just right. It was our tent, or what was left of it. They'd torn it apart and hung the shredded fabric from the branches like some grotesque flag. Bits of our clothes were tied into knots, dangling like morbid streamers. And worse, our bear canister was wedged into a fork of a nearby tree. But it was open again, and inside, jammed among the crumpled granola wrappers and trail mix bags, was something that made my stomach flip. My wallet. And Emily's phone. We'd left both of them zipped up in her pack, stashed in the tent. They'd gone through everything, taken what they wanted, left what they didn't, and then they'd placed it all out here for us to see, like a message. We own you now. Emily saw it too. She let out this tiny whimper. Not a cry, not a scream, just a hopeless little sound that cut right through me. That's when the singing started. Not the whistling. This was different. A woman's voice, cracked, off-key, singing something slow and broken. Oh, my darling, oh, my darling, oh, my darling Clementine. But it was wrong. She dragged the notes out, made them slither. It sounded like she barely remembered the lyrics, slurring through the verses like a drunk at closing time. And it was getting closer. I pressed my hand over Emily's mouth, felt her breath shudder against my palm. The singing passed by the rocks, maybe 20 feet away. I saw her through the crack. An older woman, grey hair in greasy ropes, skin so pale it looked waxy. She wore a man's flannel shirt, sleeves cut off, arms covered in bruises and scratches. In one hand she dragged a rope, thick, yellowed, frayed at the ends. She didn't even look around, just kept singing that damn song. Drove her ducklings to the water, every morning just at 9. And behind her, shambling along, was a man I hadn't seen before. He was huge, barefoot, shirtless. His back was a lattice of scars, fresh and old, layered like a road map of pain. He carried a bundle of sticks over his shoulder. No, not sticks. Poles. Tent poles. Our tent poles. I don't know why, but that hit me harder than anything else. They were dismantling every piece of us, tearing down our little safe zone, repurposing it, like they were absorbing us into this place. Emily's fingers dug into my leg. She wanted to bolt. I could feel it. Her whole body was wound up like a spring, but I held her back. We couldn't run yet. Not with that giant roaming around. Not with Rope Woman slithering through the trees. We waited. The singing faded, the footsteps grew softer, and then from somewhere deeper in the woods a new sound echoed. Screaming. High, shrill, human. It cut through the air like a serrated blade bouncing off the trees, filling the forest with a kind of wrongness that made my skin crawl. Not a scream for help. A scream of pure, senseless agony. Emily's hand shot to her mouth, but I could hear her sobbing under her fingers. I can't stay here, she whispered, voice cracking. Please, please, we have to go. She wasn't wrong if they were busy with... whatever that was. It was our only chance. I helped her up. She hissed in pain, almost collapsed. But I looped her arm over my shoulder again. We moved slow, painfully slow. Every step was a gamble. But the woods seemed distracted now. The screaming was still going, longer than it should, unnatural. We skirted around the makeshift display of our ruined camp, the canister, the shredded tent, our things, all ruined but arranged, like some kind of shrine. It took everything I had not to look at it, not to think about what it meant. We found the trail again, but it didn't help. Every part of me knew it wasn't safe. They'd let us find it. They wanted us to. But what choice did we have? We pressed on, inching forward, every nerve ending on fire. The screaming eventually stopped, but something worse replaced it. Laughter, not loud, not joyful, quiet, dry. A single chuckle, repeated over and over. It was coming from ahead. I froze. The trail curved up into a ridge. I could see the faint glow of a lantern bobbing lazily. And then I saw him again, Lantern Man. He was waiting for us, just standing there, smiling. He didn't move, didn't speak, just held that lantern up, lighting the trail like he was a greeter at some hellish resort. I felt Emily's body sag, defeated. "They're everywhere," she whispered. But then, through the trees to our right, there was movement, fast, a blur of motion. Before I could react, a hand shot out of the dark, grabbing Emily by the arm. Another hand clamped over my mouth, yanking me backward. We were being pulled off the trail, into the trees, but not by them, by someone else. A man, younger, wild-eyed, filthy, but not like the others. His grip was iron, but his voice was low, urgent. "Shut up. Don't move. Don't fucking breathe." He dragged us down behind a fallen log, crouching low. Emily was sobbing, trying to pull away, but he shook her. "You want to die out here? You want to end up like the last ones? Then shut the fuck up." He wasn't with them. His terror was real. He looked back toward the trail, eyes darting. "They ain't seen you yet. You still got a shot." For a moment, the world narrowed to just this. Hiding in the dirt, the taste of moss in my mouth, Emily's ragged breaths, and this stranger's vice grip on my arm. Lantern Man passed by, slow as ever. The others followed, 5 of them, maybe more, moving with that same predator patience. The stranger didn't let go until the last flicker of light vanished into the trees. Even then, he didn't relax. "You ain't safe. You ain't never safe. But you ain't dead yet." He finally looked at me, really looked. And his face, it was worse than the others. Because he was new, fresh cuts, fresh bruises. His eyes were cracked glass. "They keep us out here, like pets, like toys." He pointed deeper into the woods, away from the trail. "You want to live? You go that way. No trail, no map. Just run, and don't stop." I swallowed hard. "Who are you?" His smile was the saddest thing I've ever seen. "Doesn't matter, won't matter much longer." Then he stood, melted back into the trees, gone. We didn't hesitate. We followed his direction, off trail, into the blackness, and behind us, somewhere far off but getting closer, The whistling started again. I didn't think we'd make it out of those woods. Not alive, anyway. The stranger's words rattled around in my skull as we pushed deeper into the dark. Pets. Toys. What the fuck did that mean? What did they do to people they caught? My brain didn't want to go there, but the screaming we'd heard earlier gave me enough clues. We weren't being hunted for sport. They were keeping us. Emily was barely staying upright. Her leg dragged behind her, every step a stumble. She wasn't talking anymore, just making these soft, pained grunts with each movement. And me? My body was running on fumes, my legs trembling, my thoughts scattered. But adrenaline's a hell of a drug. It lets you do things you shouldn't be able to do. The trees got thicker, the air colder, wetter, like we were descending into something old, a place that had never been meant for people. There was no trail now, no markers, just brush and stone and the occasional gouge in the dirt where some animal had passed through. But I kept us moving, because stopping meant they'd find us. And I knew in my bones if they found us, we wouldn't die clean. The whistling came and went, sometimes far off, sometimes too close, like they were letting us breathe, giving us hope, before tightening the noose again. I kept replaying the last thing the stranger said. You ain't never safe, but you ain't dead yet. Somehow those words were comforting. They meant there was still a chance. Then we stumbled into a clearing, not a natural one. The ground was flat. The trees were cut. Clean, precise stumps lined the edges, their rings exposed like open wounds. In the center was a fire pit, cold and black. Around it were makeshift benches, rough-hewn logs scarred with deep knife marks. It looked lived in, but abandoned. For a second, a stupid, dangerous second, I thought maybe this was safety. A ranger station maybe, or some old camp used by sane people. But then Emily pointed. Her hand was shaking, her face pale with exhaustion and fear. There was something nailed to one of the tree stumps. Fabric. I moved closer. It was a backpack. Emily's backpack. Split open, slashed down the middle. Its contents spilled out, arranged with sick precision. Her wallet. Empty. Her map, torn into strips. Her spare clothes shredded and tied into little bows. Her Polaroid camera, smashed. Lens cracked, but with a single photo tucked under the strap. I picked it up with numb fingers. It was a photo of us, taken earlier that day, smiling by the lake. But someone had scratched out our eyes, deep gouges through the paper, and beneath it, scrawled in dirt-smudged ink, were 4 words. Stay. You belong here. My throat closed up. It wasn't just about killing us. They wanted to keep us, make us part of their fucked-up little world. I turned to Emily. We have to go. Now. But it was already too late. We weren't alone in the clearing. I heard it first. That soft crunch of boots on dirt, coming from every direction. The circle was closing. Lantern Man stepped into view, his grin wider now, stretching his skin so tight I thought it might split. You came so far, would be ashamed to quit now. Behind him the others emerged. Rope woman, swinging that frayed noose lazily. The giant cracking his knuckles, his chest heaving. The mouth still hanging open, her taped-on speaker clicking softly. And more. Faces I hadn't seen before. Young, old, all of them with that same emptiness in their eyes. Emily clutched my hand. Her fingers were ice. "No more running," Lantern Man said. "Time to come home." I pulled the tiny Gerber knife from my pocket. Pathetic little thing. But it felt better than nothing. Lantern Man chuckled. "I like that. Little spark left in you. Good. You'll need it." The circle tightened. My brain was screaming. No way out. No way through. This is it. But then, a sound. Distant but sharp. A voice. Male, shouting. "Hey! Who's out there?" Flashlights, real ones, cutting through the trees. For a moment the world stopped. The lantern flickered, the figures hesitated. Lantern Man's smile didn't fade, but his eyes narrowed. "Don't matter. Don't matter at all," he muttered. But the circle loosened. They didn't retreat. They just faded. Melted back into the woods, one by one, as if they'd never been there. Emily collapsed. Her body gave out. I dropped to my knees, holding her. The voices got closer, real people. Hikers, maybe, or some kind of search and rescue. "Over here," I croaked, throat raw. The lights found us, faces, normal faces, concerned, human. "Jesus Christ, are you okay? What the hell happened to you?" I wanted to tell them everything, but no words came out. Emily was barely conscious. They started working on her immediately, checking her leg, giving her water. Someone put a hand on my shoulder. "You're safe now." But I knew they were wrong, because as they led us away, as the lights retreated, I looked back into the trees. And in the distance, barely visible in the moonlight, Lantern Man stood watching, grinning, not moving, as if to say, "This isn't over. You'll be back, one way or another." And somewhere far off, soft as a breath, the whistling began again. They said we were lucky, the EMTs, the sheriff, the ranger who happened to be nearby, all of them with the same rehearsed look of sympathy, like they'd practiced it in the mirror for tourists who get in over their heads. Lucky was the word they kept using. Lucky we made it back to the trail. Lucky a group of early morning hikers heard something. Lucky we didn't get mauled by a bear. Lucky. Emily didn't say much after that night. They flew her back home 2 days later. Her leg was worse than we thought. Fractured ankle, torn ligaments, massive swelling. But the physical damage was the least of it. We didn't talk on the plane. We didn't talk in the airport. She wouldn't even look at me. It was like everything that happened out there was contagious, and I was still carrying it. I get it now. I do. The truth is, we didn't leave that place. Not really. Because something followed us back. It's been months, but I still hear it. When the world goes quiet. When I'm trying to sleep. That whistle. Soft. Off-key. No rhythm. No pattern. Sometimes it's right outside my apartment window. Sometimes it's in my fucking head. I changed cities, got rid of my phone, avoided the woods like they were made of fire, but it didn't help. A few weeks ago, I got a package. No return address. Inside, a single Polaroid. It was a picture of me, taken through my window, at night. I was sitting on my couch, staring at the TV. The blinds were down, but not all the way. The photo had been taken from the fire escape. My eyes were scratched out. On the back, someone had written, "You belong here." I didn't call the cops. What would I even tell them? They'd say it was some sick prank, random, unrelated. But I know better. Sometimes I see him, lantern man, not always clearly, a reflection in a store window, a shape in the crowd, never close enough to prove he's there, never close enough to do anything about, just enough to remind me. They're patient. They don't need to chase you. They just wait. And in the dead hours of the night when my brain betrays me, I think about going back. Not because I want to, not because I'm curious, but because there's this itch, like something's missing, like I'm missing. And I wonder if Emily feels it too. I haven't heard from her, but a friend of a friend told me she moved, vanished off social media, changed her number. Maybe she hears the whistle now. Maybe it's calling her back too. I don't know how this ends. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe that's the point. You think you leave places like that behind, but places like that, they keep you. And one day when the noise of life fades, when the excuses run out, you'll hear it again. That broken, aimless whistle, calling you home,